Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation. Today we are going to talk about something that might sound very sciencey at first, but trust me, it's actually something that touches many parts of our life. That topic is chemical reagent. In today's presentation, we are going to take you on a simple journey to understand what these reagents are, their types, their uses, and most importantly, how to handle them safely. So let's get started. What exactly is chemical reagent? In simple terms, a chemical reagent is a substance or compound that added to a system to cause a chemical reaction or to see if a reaction will happen. You can think of it like a key that opens a chemical door, so it helps to unlock the changes we want to observe. Chemical reagents are often used in laboratories, yes, but that's not the whole story. They are also used in schools, industry, medical lab, environmental testing, and even in the products we use every day like soaps, skincare, and food testing kits. Without reagents, many scientific discoveries wouldn't be possible. We wouldn't be able to test for glucose in blood, purify water, detect harmful substance, or even studies reactions between different elements. So, basically, reagents are silent workers behind most chemical processes.
Thank you, Damya. Now, let's talk about the different type of chemical reagent. Not all reagents work the same way. Each one has its own function depending on what we want to test or create. First, we have the acid-base reagent. These are probably the most well-known. Acid like hydrochloric acid and bases like sodium hydroxide are used in titration, which is a technique to find out the concentration of unknown solution. If you have done titration in school, you have already used reagent. Then we have colorimetric reagent. These reagents change color when they react with a specific substance. For example, Benedict solution change color when it reacts with reducing sugar. So, if you drop it into a sugar solution and heat it, it might turn orange or red. This shows a positive result. A precipitating reagent. These reagents form a solid substance when they react with something. For example is barium chloride, which is produced a white solid if sulfate ions are present in the solution. This is called a precipitate and is a very helpful sign that a reagent has taken place. Lastly, we have oxidizing and reducing reagent. These reagents are responsible for transferring oxygen or electron in a reaction. A very common oxidizing agent is potassium permanganate. It turns from purple to colorless when it reacts. So you see, reagents are not all the same. They have different jobs and react in unique ways. That's what makes chemistry so exciting.
Next, I'll be talking about how chemical reagents are used in our daily life. So, a lot of us usually think that chemical reagents are only used in science labs. But actually, we come across them way more often than we realize. They are in things like cleaning products, skincare, food, and even in the medical tools we use every day. Let me show you a few examples. First is water testing kits. If you ever test this water in a swimming pool or filter water at home, you probably use one of those small kits. Inside them, there are a chemical reagents like phenol red or orthotolidine. These reagents react with the water and change color depending on the pH or chlorine level. This helps us to check if the water is safe to use or swim in. Next is glucose test strips, which are used by people with diabetes. These tiny strips contain enzymes and color dyes that act as a reagents. When a drop of blood is added to the strip, the reagent reacts with the glucose in the blood. It shows a reading in just seconds and helps people to monitor their sugar levels quickly and easily. Let's move on to something that usually used by everyone, which is cosmetic and skincare. For example, hair dye. Hair dye usually use a chemical reagents like ammonia and hydrogen peroxide to change our hair color. In skincare, facial pills or exfoliators usually contain a alpha hydroxy acid. This reagent help to remove these skin cells and making our skin look brighter and smoother. Now, when you clean your house, especially in the bathroom or in the kitchen, you are also using a chemical reagents. Products like bleach or toilet cleaners contain sodium hypochlorite and kitchen spray often use ammonia. These reagents break down stains, remove grease, and most importantly, they kill germs. So they help to keep our homes clean and safe. Next is food. If you ever bake cakes or bread, you probably use a baking soda. That's actually a chemical reagent and it reacts with acetic acid ingredients to produce bubble of gas. This will make your dough rise and become fluffy. And then there is a citric acid which is used in many drinks or packaged foods to help preserve them and give a sour flavor. So even in our favorite snacks, chemical reactions are happening. Chemical reagents are also super important in farming. Fertilizers like ammonium nitrate provide nitrogen to plants, help them to grow faster and healthier. On the other hand, glyphosate is a reagent used in pesticides to kill weeds and protecting the crops from damage. And finally, of course, in the science lab, reagents like Benedict solution are used in food tests to detect glucose or sugar. Another one is phenolphthalein, which is change the color to show whether something is acidic or alkaline. So, reagents are still super important in scientific experiments and so, to wrap it all, chemical reagents are actually everywhere in our daily life, from what we eat, what we use to clean, to what we put on our skin, even in tools that monitor our health. They help us to stay clean, safe, healthy, and make everyday life a little easier.
Thank you, Lisa. Everything sounds useful, right? But with all that usefulness comes responsibility. Even though reagents are helpful, they can also be dangerous if not used properly. That's why safety is very important when working with any chemical reagent. First of all, always wear the right personal protective equipment. This includes safety goggles, gloves, and a lab coat. These are your first layer of protection. Second, don't directly smell the reagent. Instead, use the wafting technique. Wave your hand gently over the opening of the container and brings the air toward your nose. This reduces the risk of inhaling something harmful. Third, make sure to label all bottles properly and never mix unknown chemicals. Some combinations may cause dangerous reactions like toxic gas, heat, or even explosions. Lastly, always read instructions and use reagents in a well-ventilated area. If any spills happens, clean it using the correct method and report it to your instructor or lab technician. So, to wrap up our presentation, chemical reagents may be small in size, but they play a big role in science and in our lives. They help us discover, test, and understand the world better, but only if you use them wisely.